So it looks like we're getting a nice group coming in. Um, Guess we'll give it another 2 minutes or so to get everybody in here. Okay, I'm looking for my executive committee in particular. I see, of course, Meals here and Carol. Here you are. Waiting for Mandy and Jane and Tina. Here comes Mandy. Okay, well, in case you don't know it, our executive committee, I'm sorry, exists of myself, when I'm currently president, and sometime in this quarter, we're going to have an election. So if anybody's interested in becoming president of the club, feel free to challenge me. I love it. But I'm sincere about that, by the way. I am getting up there and I might want to take a step back, but if somebody's interested, let us know. And then I believe the other one is it Carol that's up for election, or Jane? I know there's two out of the four. We've got president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And then we have two others, Emil, who is our VDR expert, and then Tina Byron, who is our digital. We'll call her a digital expert. Okay. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and hopefully the other two will come in. Emil, would you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about, make it very brief, about our endorsement process, where we are now.
I'm Emil Hansaker. My official position is chair of the voter registration activity, but I'm also just the club handyman. One of the things I'm doing is running the endorsement vote that will finish today at 3 o'clock. So if you know who you want to vote for, and if you have your email with your links and codes to the ballot parts, you still have time to fill that out if you haven't done so. For a person to be endorsed by NETCo Dems, they have to come in first in the actual vote, but they also have to have 65% approval rate from the people who did vote. We do that in this ranked voting system by, if you move a person over to ranking list, that means you've approved them, not as your first choice or second choice necessarily, but if you move them at all, then that's a affirmation of approval, not endorsement. Other than that, after 3 o'clock, I'll have a couple of hours of sorting out what the machine tells me has happened, and then giving it to the executive committee to make sure I haven't made a big mistake. And by the way, the only people who can vote are people whose membership is in good order. And we can talk about that another time. But at any rate, it'll take me some time. I'll send it out to the executive committee what the results were, and then we'll publish them on all of the types of media that we have.
Emil, this is Lolly. I have a question about, does it matter whether you do the voting on your cell phone or on your computer?
No.
Because I tried 4 times and I suddenly realized I had done it all on my cell phone. I did the confirmation, got down to the bottom and clicked vote, and nothing ever happened. And Pat said I was not recorded as having voted.
It should have just, okay, it went through and you confirmed what it was and clicked at the very bottom. It will just give you a screen that you've completed. If you go back in again and you try to enter your code, it will say this ballot has already been voted. If you go in,
it never counted as voting. I got to the very end, I confirmed it and got the little click here to vote, and I did that, and I never got a confirmation of the vote. No. When I tried, anyway, it's
the fact that we're using 3 ballots made it difficult to send a confirmation email from all people who voted.
Okay.
I'm hoping by the next time around, the limit on the number of contests that you can put on a ballot will have been changed. And then if it's only one ballot, then the OPA vote would send you a confirmation. But it was not possible on this one.
Yeah.
I can check later if your
Don't
vote's
worry about
recorded.
it. I just wondered if it had to do with my using the cell phone. That's
No,
all
no,
right.
it works just as well on either one. It's a systemic problem that we have on getting confirmations out.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt our executive committee. Easy for me to say. Okay, let's start all over again. Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? We have a special guest, a long-term friend of the club, David D'Angelo, and he has been appointed, or I guess, I don't know. But anyway, he has a new position with the Travis County Democratic Party. It's called the Assistant Primary Director. But he has something to say about voting by mail and what the party is doing about that. And he also has a cranky baby. So we're going to let David step up now and tell us what's going on at the party. Okay?
Thanks, Sandra. So, yeah, hi, everyone. My name is David D'Angelo. I am the new Assistant Primary Director for the county party. And I just wanted to take a few minutes just to let you know a couple of the things that we're doing, some dates, some activities, and like Sandra said, talk about the VBM issues. So to start today, Saturday the 15th, is the first day for filings that anyone interested in applying to be a precinct chair can submit them. So those filings run through the 12th of February. These are going to be for the new election precincts. There are no incumbent precinct chairs. If there are more than one individual who applies, those applications are accepted. They will be running in a contested race. Of course, with 40 new election precincts, we've got even more ground to cover. So we welcome all applications. Myself, the rest of the TCDP staff are able to accept them at multiple hours. We've been putting out on the website and email information about the process. And I'm going to, when I'm done speaking, put my email in the chat. So anyone interested, anyone with questions can get in touch with me and I'll be happy to explain it. So that's one of the things we have going on. The next is vote by mail. As some of you may know, some of you may have received, the application to vote by mail have gone out. You know, the window to apply is open. There's been a lot of discussion in Travis County and the state about different entities, different clerks rejecting certain ballots for not having sufficient information. Now, I can tell you because our executive director, our county chair have been working with lawyers, talking to SOS and the county clerk's office about it. So where we are is fewer are potentially going to be rejected than originally thought earlier this week. But because of SB1, we need to ensure that when we're communicating with everyone about the application, that we emphasize certain things. And the critical piece is any individual who is applying to vote by mail must include both their social security number and their driver's license. Now,
last four digits.
Yes, thank you, Tony. The last four digits. We're going to be putting out more literature about this, but on the application and on the ballot envelope, the most critical thing is getting those last four of your social and your driver's license. This will ensure, if everything else is correct, that the ballot is accepted. And so there's a lot of confusion. TDP has sent out a mailing. Their vote by mail application, which they worked on with the Secretary of State's office, looks a little different than the one that we get from the clerk's office. No one should fear that using one or the other won't be accepted, but there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of misunderstanding, and we're just trying to let folks know what they can do. The county party is always going to be a resource for anyone concerned. We're putting out emails I can send to Sandra and the rest of the club what we have. Part of what we're doing to ensure that we know who is filling out an application, returning an application, and also doing so correctly is we're doing phone banks. Our first one is this Tuesday. We have one the following Thursday, and then the Tuesday and Thursday the week after. And we're not just going to be doing the usual questions, trying to find out in van, okay, have you received it? Have you returned it? But educating people about the issues so that it doesn't get rejected. Now, some may be rejected. There are multiple ways to correct it in time. The easiest, the one that would never fail, but we're not putting as the primary means, is going to be filling out a new application and putting all the information on and then writing corrected ballot. That's one way. But the primary means that the SOS is set up and that the county will make available and that we're making available is to check your ballot. There will be links where you go on, you put in your information, and you can then see the status of your ballot. The county is going to be reaching out to folks once they are able to assume and project that one is rejected and let folks know. So the other piece of information that we as individuals, and what we want to stress, is not just your last four of the Social Security and your driver's license, but also your email and your phone number, so that if an application is rejected, the county could try to call you up and speed up the process for you to correct that ballot. So I've done a lot of talking, so I know there's some questions. Happy to answer to the best of my ability.
Okay, do we have any questions pertinent right now? Karen?
So 2 questions, David. I know there was going to be a requirement that you sign the ballot and then sign across the envelope when you seal it. Is that causing problems? And 2, do our elders all have driver's licenses, or has that been a limitation?
Good question, Karen. I can't speak to the envelope signature. I'll have to go back and see. I got a draft copy of, I think, one of the envelopes. I can check to see if that's on there. I will say this, if it is, we want to make sure we're articulating everyone needs to follow every signature, every I dotted, every T. So if it's there, it would not hurt to put the signature on the envelope. And regarding your second question, if you don't mind repeating it, Karen, I'm sorry.
Do most of our seniors who vote by mail have driver's licenses?
Yes, thank you. So let me just be clear. I'm saying driver's license, but it is either your driver's license or your state ID. So if you are no longer a driver, but you have effectively a walking ID, anything that has a state identification, you could put that in. It is supposed to match on the application whatever it is an individual put when they first registered to vote. Most individuals put either their Social Security last four or their driver's license. But in reality, many of us who may have signed up years ago don't necessarily remember which it is. This is why we are encouraging people to put both, because at least one will be accepted and ensure that a ballot is not rejected based on the lack of information.
If I
Thank
may,
you.
I've already voted early in the local special election, and the ballot setup is the same as we've had it before. When you close the outer envelope and seal it, there's a place to sign across the seal. So that stays the same. What the rule now change is for the state is that they have to compare that to the signature on file. And if they, that is unfortunately a judgment call, when they're doing that. But if the mail-in ballot judge decides that these signatures don't match, the ballot could be rejected.
So I
Let me
had a
just-
question
let me
about that.
Let me actually add on to one thing Emil just said, because we're in the middle of a special election for D4. It's my understanding as of yesterday, the process for mail ballots for D4 are not covered by SB1. That basically whatever individual is receiving or sending in for that, we're under the pre-SB1 rules. So everything as relates to the application and all elections moving forward are the ones affected by SB1. Sorry, David, I know you were
No,
about
that's
to say
okay.
something.
What I was going to ask was a question that occurred to me when I was during the hearings last year, and that I don't remember hearing any of the committee members ask about, which was what sort of training or expertise does the people that are checking these at the ballot boards, have in handwriting and signature match? That's an expertise. It's a skill, and as far as I know, they just hire basically volunteers for these boards. As far as I know, they have no specialized training. I don't know if they train them at all, but the idea that they are the ones who are making these decisions, and I could imagine here in Travis, they're probably directed to be fairly sympathetic in the way that they evaluate them. But I can also imagine in certain other parts of the state that is not going to be the case. It's also
David,
a huge problem for disabled people and elderly people whose handwriting changes.
You're quite right about the rest of the state. David, you're quite right. We don't know what other counties are going to do, the stature, the status, the training they will have for their ballot board. I can speak to Travis County. I don't know if the 3 presiding judges are experts in handwriting. I do know that they are experienced in the ballot board process. This is not going to be their first election or rodeo. So if nothing else, they have experience with matching signatures.
But that doesn't give them any actual skills in that, or training, or specialized knowledge that people who do this for a living have.
That's true. That does not necessarily address
I want to interrupt here a little bit because I worked on the ballot board myself. I'm sorry, what? Anyway, I've worked on the ballot board myself. I know the process. And yes, there are certain people of a different party inclination who will challenge about every signature that is slightly different. However, we have judges that are smart and that are capable to determine when a signature is actually correct. And I have not seen a single ballot rejected because of signatures. Question,
here in Travis County.
Rejected, no.
What? I'm saying that's here in Travis County.
Yes, that's in Travis County. We have no control over what other counties do.
And I suspect some Republican-controlled counties, the way that this is enforced is going to be, I'll say, less professional than what I would expect from Travis County.
I can.
Carol, do you want to address that comment?
I've worked on the ballot board for 5 years now, and Travis County is the exception because we're so blue. But even in Travis County, the people that evaluate that signature.
I have to step off. My email is in the chat. Everyone can feel free to follow up with me if they have any more questions. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you, David, very much. I appreciate it. Yes, and this is a discussion that we probably should have at length. But I will tell you this, we have some things we need to get through. And then at the end of our meeting, we are going to revisit the vote by mail and the phone bank and some other issues. So Carol, I hate to interrupt you at this time, but if you would hold that thought and we'll get back to it. Right now, I need you to talk about District 4 and what you're doing and what we have so far.
Well, I am a member of the executive committee of NETCo. I am the secretary. And in this meeting, I am depending on the recording to be our minutes. Thank you very much. But I wanted to let the people that are interested in the District 4 City of Boston Council seat, I have attended 4 candidate forums, and I put 2 of the best ones on in the chat. The League of Women Voters, and I helped put together the one that's on Windsor Hills. That was a product of 11 neighborhoods in District 4 posing questions to the candidates. So if you're interested in the candidates that are running for that seat to replace Greg Kassar, they're in the chat here. Thank you.
In addition, I would like to say that although we were not able to put Cheeto Villa into our endorsement process because of timing problems, we personally, myself and Carol and most of our executive committee, do support Cheeto Villa and want to keep that in mind. We do have much of that district is in our club. So as far as city council, that's who our representative would be. And Cheeto's been a friend to the club for many years now. So I just had to put that out there. We can't endorse him because he wasn't listed, but personally, I endorse him, and I think the others do too. So next on our agenda, Mandy, you want to tell us what you've been up to? Introduce yourself. I'm not hearing you, Mandy. Is there something wrong with your vocal? I guess we're not going to hear Mandy. I don't know what's wrong. She's unmuted, but maybe the volume. Are you on your phone? Okay. Well, Mandy Prater is our vice president, and she is really my backup. And what she's been doing lately is helping me considerably because this past winter has been kind of hard on me. And I just turned 80, so I made it to the 8th decade now. Thank you very much. I keep telling people if I'd known I was going to live this long, I'd taken better care of myself. I don't believe Tina is with us today. Tina, are you there? Jane? Jane? It's unusual that I don't see Jane.
Jane was here a minute ago.
Yeah,
Jane?
I'm here.
Okay, I just don't. Oh, there you are. Now I see you. Speak up. Okay. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Oh, well, so I'm Jane Denson. I'm the treasurer with NETCo. And so, yeah, I've been keeping up member lists and so forth. Of course, we deposit money and we do the Ethics Commission report monthly. And anyway, but I'm also precinct chair of 113, which where I live specifically is becoming precinct 184. And because my precinct got split into 4 precincts. So I've got a couple people in mind I want to ask about some of the other parts. But I'm kind of thinking I might actually have a person or 2 who might want to run against me in the precinct chair race. I don't know that for sure, but they've at least said they would be helpers. So if they're helpers, that's great.
That's wonderful. I hope that the extra precincts are just occupied rather than replacing you, Jane. That would be foolish.
Yes.
Actually. But I do have a new person. If David, can you show yourself so we can see you? David Gratz. David is from Caldwell County, and Caldwell and Bastrop and a couple other counties that surround Travis County are where we as NETCo Dems are going to be doing some voter registration and hopefully spreading the word. And I asked David to tell us a little bit about his county so we can see what we're up against. Okay, David?
So hello, just real quickly. We're what I would say is a purple county. We're in the Capcog region, I guess, probably the most diverse. Well, we are the most diverse county and also the poorest county, Caldwell County. But at least right now, we've got one Democratic commissioner, precinct 4, and the rest are Republicans. Historically, precinct 3 has often been Democrat, but is not right now. And our judge is a Republican, although a relatively reasonable Republican, I guess, as those things go, I suppose. We've got coming up, our precinct 4 commissioner has been there for, I think, 30 years and has retired. And so that's an open seat. And the same for precinct 4 JP. The JP there has been there for about 20 years and he's retiring. Those are both Democrats. So that's an open race, and we've got Republicans and Democratic challengers. That particular precinct 4 is one of 2. We just went through our redistricting, and we're able to successfully convince the Republican commissioners not to draw the lines through the middle of the Latino neighborhoods in Caldwell County. So we actually had some success there. But so precinct 4 is one of 2 minority districts, and so we're hopeful that the Democrat will win, but Republicans have a lot more money and power, and people and things like that. So we'll see how that plays out. It's tough with an not having an incumbent there. Anyway, I mean, we're doing our best. We're trying to get started. There's a handful of us, and we've been pretty focused on kind of COVID outreach. I've been involved in sort of vaccine clinics in Bastrop and Caldwell County, as have, the president of our local club is a nurse, so she's giving shots literally right now. We do that every weekend. So we're spread a little bit thin between worrying about COVID and worrying about the upcoming primary. So anyway, if there's questions, I can also speak later on if you'd like. I'm also the presiding judge in Central Count, so can talk about how we handle handwriting in Caldwell County if you'd like. So
Excellent. That's great. So you be sure to hang in there. We'll get back to you on that. I do want to stress that the NETCo Dems wants to get out into these surrounding counties. We can't do anything physically right now, obviously being in stage 5, but hopefully when we go down, we'll take a day trip to go out and visit some of these places and do some voter registration and maybe spread some literature and just get the word out. That's and any one of you that would help, be glad to have you just send me a quick email and say, I'm sorry, Tony.
I'm sorry. No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw you pop up there. But anyway,
Sorry.
I'm asking for your help, all of you. We can do phone banks. We can do a hustle. We can send out some literature for any candidate who wants us to do. So just let me know if you want to help. And I know that judges are severely restricted in some manner, but perhaps there are some things that you could even do, maybe voter registration or something nonpartisan. I don't know. I know you're just restricted, but the others of you aren't. So join me, okay? And you'll be hearing more from us on that later on. Is Kevin Keiko available? Kevin, are you here?
I am, yeah, Kevin Guico.
Guico, yes. And I asked you how to pronounce that, didn't I? And I forgot.
That's okay, totally fine.
Kevin is running for State Board of Education position. Let me see.
5.
District 5. Yes,
Yes,
District 5. So please, will you tell us about yourself and why you think we should put you on the board?
Absolutely. Y'all on NETCo, thank you so much for the time and the space. It's good to be with you this Saturday morning. I hope you're staying warm and staying safe with these winds that's happening. I don't know, my planes are flying around all over the place. But it's a pleasure to be here with y'all and meet you. My name is Kevin Guico. I'm running for, as mentioned, the State Board of Education in District 5 to be the first Asian American on the board. And mostly because I believe that all students should have access to a quality education in District 5 in our area, as well as across Texas. As a lifelong educator, I've got to work at every role, starting as a teacher's aide in Dallas ISD and working my way up to now where I work with a nonprofit and I collaborate and advise districts, school leaders, work with TEA and all sorts of other folks. And I've been seeing how resilient, how great, how hardworking our students, our families, and our educators are. And I've been seeing that we need to do some more structural things to be able to create the conditions in which they can succeed, right? At each role I've really just tried to approach it from like, what can I do better to make this better? That started with in my classroom, like, what can I do better in here to make it more representative of my students, to make it more representative of me, who's often the first Asian American my students ever met, which was a fun adventure. How do I best train teachers when I was facilitating for about 80 teachers, giving them year-long professional development? And now it's like, how do I support these districts through what's probably been the toughest 2 years of education? How do we continue to make this better? And the more I keep asking the question, the more I've kind of found that I should be lifting all of us up to the State Board of Education. I think it's been far too long from where we've lost direction in our conversation of our kids. And I don't really have to tell you what's been happening in our school board meetings and what's been happening in Williamson County, Northeast Travis County. I don't think I have to tell you a lot about that, but I will tell you what I stand for. And I stand for our representation on the board, of course, which I've mentioned, and representation in our curriculum. I think that as we expand our ethnic studies program, I would love to include Asian American studies as an Asian American. I think more importantly, as we dig into our TEKS and our school standards, that we look at it with a critical lens, we look at it with an honest and truthful recount of our history, and not one that is meant to, for lack of a better word, right, like whitewash or kind of fuzzy up the history of our state and our nation. That is one of the responsibilities of the State Board of Education, and that's, I think, one of the best fights that we could have on the board, is to really hold that down. Another thing that I stand for, y'all, is local representation as well, and that includes involving groups such as this group right here, some of the other groups that I've met along the way, that we found the board and our member that's in there has not really engaged in the past couple of years. And so in that sense, y'all, I am not looking to be a politician. I mean, I am in the literal sense, but I'm really looking to engage local folks and bring us all up to be locally represented on the board. And whatever working groups, whatever commissions, whatever committees that we make in advising curriculum, in advising the use of our permanent school fund and school finance, in advising school initiatives across the state, those are the three main ones, that we have representation from our local folks to really represent what's happening on the ground. And the third thing I stand for, y'all, I already mentioned, is bringing students back into the heart of Texas and really refocusing our conversation, both energy-wise in talking about students and our student outcomes, because we've gotten very distracted from that. We've been doing a disservice to lots of kids for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I believe in structurally making and lifting up model policies that allow for our school boards to focus on that conversation, which may include having specific amounts of time dedicated to talking about students and student outcomes. And that may include having the State Board of Ed adopt similar policies so that we're not focused on adult politics. So these are some of the ways that I'd like to see and like to lift up. And I'm learning more along the way as I meet groups like this who are passionate about education, who are passionate about our public school system. So y'all, I will invite any questions if that's appropriate in this meeting and the agenda, I'm not sure. And I invite you to reach out. I'm gonna drop my contact information whenever we're ready, so that y'all can continue to engage, y'all, because this is not just like a one and done. If we get it, whether we get in there or not, we will continue to build a movement to engage the State Board of Ed.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I see some questions, but I want to check first. Is Dr. Rebecca Bell Metero here? I didn't see her in the list of names, so I'm assuming she is not in attendance. Is that correct? Having not heard from her, I will assume she's not here. Reason I ask about her is that David is running against her, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to address that. Apparently, she is not going to do that here at this time. So I will allow the questions. Karen?
Kevin,
Yes, ma'am.
I am the Travis County Democratic Party Candidate Recruiting and Support Chair. I really want to talk to you. I put my information in the chat. Please contact me later today or as soon as you have some time. And I'll be happy to talk to you. I almost ran for this spot myself in the last cycle, but I was in 10 at that time, have been redistricted to 5, and really want to hear more about what you've got in mind and what's going on. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, David Albert?
Yes, Kevin.
Yes.
I had a couple of questions as to, have you worked for charter schools? Have you received funding from charter school lobbies and supporters? And what is your position on issues related to charter schools, which Rebecca has come out strongly against the expansion of charters. And I can tell you that the Central Labor Council was very concerned about this issue when they when we endorsed your opponent last week, that there's a very strong opposition to the expansion of charters from the labor community, particularly from the teachers' unions like Education Austin. So if you could address the questions of, again, have you worked for the charter school? Have you received funding from them? And what are your positions are you taking on them, or on their expansion?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the opportunity to address. I think something I found on the campaign trail is lots of folks like to say lots of things about our campaign. I have only worked at nonprofits that support public schools, mostly Dallas ISD in my career. And I've been a Dallas ISD teacher, 7th grade English. I support currently ISDs, which, I would like to not share for their own privacy reasons, but it is quite across Texas. And we support the kind of like management and technical expertise of these districts. So it's much less the operations of the schools themselves and more so like the less, for lack of a better word, sexy stuff of being in the classroom, of direct instruction and things like that. So I'll say like it's very technical work, but it is with districts. Have I received any funding from charter schools or charter school networks? No, I have not. We are fairly grassroots, fairly me mostly, and I do get some support from an education development program. It's called the Leadership for Educational Equity, and it is a group that's helps support getting educators into positions that influence education. And so I think and it wasn't even a whole lot. I think it's the only sort of support that I've gotten from an organization. Everything else has been individual giving, and I really appreciate it more. So I will include some of that information in the chat as well. But yeah, thank you for the question. On the stance of
on the expansion of charter schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I am a public school advocate. I think we need to improve what we have. And I think we need to focus on the schools and the school districts that we have in. That includes providing some technical expertise, but that is not the role of the SBOE. That's like why I do the work that I do. I think it also includes increased funding for these schools and advocating for like an expansion of HB3, an expansion of some of the initiatives that TEA has, and lifting up those practices so that districts can learn from each other and so that we can also expand some of the wins that we have. I will say, and I will say the incumbent as well, has a somewhat of a more pragmatic view, I think, maybe than is said out loud. But I think the last couple votes of the charter schools on SBOE included 2 that I believe she voted for. I definitely would have voted the same. I think one of them was an approval of a charter school that primarily serve students with autism. I think it fed a local need, right? I think it fed a really important demographic that I don't know any place that's doing well, Texas or otherwise. And I think it helped to expand the outcomes and the needs for students that need it the most. So like I'm hesitant, right, to go into absolutes, but I will say like if it fits a community need, if it addresses an inequity, or if it focuses on students, like that's kind of where I come at it from that lens.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I have discovered we have another person running for that same board here today, and that is Juan Juarez. And so Juan, if you want to give us a very brief discussion of who you are and what you would like to change. And I want to keep in mind for both of you, and Kevin, you can answer this after Juan speaks for a moment, is what are we going to do about the dumbing down of our schools? Just think about that and go on, Juan.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos. My name is Juan Juarez, and I am running to be your State Board of Education member from District 5. I want to tell you a little bit about me first. I am a Latino, a gay Latino originally from Mexico. And I always tell my staff and students and parents that I had to wait 19 years old to hear from just one person to tell me that my identity of being a gay man was okay. And I lead as a principal, and a high-performing principal and certified principal, to ensure that our students don't have to wait until they're 19 years old to hear from one person that their identity, regardless of what that identity is beautiful and that they have a strong voice. Now, every single candidate in this race is qualified for this role, but I bring something different that's unique. And the first is that the only candidate that shares the same background as our most disadvantaged students in the state. I'm the only candidate that is currently in K-12 education with my boots on the ground, implementing the decisions that the State Board of Education has asked us to implement. And I'm bilingual, ensuring that we're able to reach more voters than ever before. I've been a former ESL teacher, a 5th grade reading teacher, and an assistant principal. And I have a record of proven results and lead currently the #4 charter middle school in the city of Austin, according to US News and World Report. And I want to bring not only a rigorous education to our students, but also an equitable education. And that is currently what I'm doing as a principal here in the city of Austin. This also means that I have firsthand experience with a major challenge and my #1 priority, and that is educational equity. As you know, we have a House bill that currently bans the teaching of critical race theory. And to meet this challenge, we must include professional development for our teachers to ensure that they understand what it means to teach in an anti-racist context. And we must ensure that our schools are made up of DEI task forces, of our parents, of our students, and of our families, with representatives from special education, responsible intervention, mental health, to ensure that the policies and practices within our schools are actually a representation of what our students and our educators and our families want. Now, as a State Board of Education member, I would ensure that we make the decisions based on our District 5 voters. I've been a principal for the last 11 years. And in those last 11 years, if it wasn't for my own research and wanting my students and my staff to learn about what's happening on the State Board of Education, we wouldn't know what's actually happening at the State Board of Education. Because even in my last 11 years, I have not seen the State Board of Education and even my current opponent reach out to families, voters, or students. And so I want to make sure that I create a forum for our community to understand, #1, what is happening at the State Board of Education level? What are the issues at play? #2, how can you get involved? How can our educators get involved on TEACS committee reviews? How can we go and testify in front of the State Board of Education? And then educate them and help them sign up. Now, the State Board of Education has actually been trying to not have as much testimony because it doesn't actually benefit them. But as a State Board of Education member, I would ensure that their voices of our students, parents, and educators are at the center of decisions. As a gay Latino and as a principal currently, I've ensured that I've done this. I've made decisions at our school level that represent our community here at our school. Now, when the bathroom bill was being debated, for example, I ensured that our school had gender-neutral restrooms for our staff and our students. When I was told that I could be fired in the state of Texas for being gay and openly gay to my students, I disclosed my sexual orientation because I felt it was important. And when our students and staff needed more training on what it meant to be an LGBTQ individual or to be a person of color, we created a curriculum for our students and for our staff. And I'm excited to bring the success of centering the voices of our students, families, and educators to the State Board of Education. And I look forward to your questions, to your support, and to your vote on March 1st. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Juan. I would like you to send me an email, ssragona, R-A-G-O-N-A, @gmail.com, so I can get your email and add you to our list, because I don't think I have that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Kevin and Juan, I'm going to put you on hold now. There are more things to ask you, but I need to go through the rest of our members because I want to give everybody a chance to speak, okay? And Eddie Rodriguez, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Eddie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to? I know you're heading to a meeting, so let's give us a couple of minutes here.
Sure, and I'm sorry if it's kind of loud. I'm on the road to San Antonio, coming at you live from 35. Again, my name is Eddie Rodriguez. I'm the state representative for District 51, have been for the last almost 20 years, and I've been a progressive fighter for not only the people of my district, but I believe for the people of Travis County. And since I've been in office, I have been in the minority. Democrats lost the House in 2003, my first session. But despite that, I've been able to pass progressive, meaningful laws that really help people. So I believe that in order to be truly called a progressive, you must make progress. And I get things done. Even in a hostile environment that is the Texas House and the legislature, I've been able to pass meaningful legislation that sometimes means working across the aisle if you can. If you can't, you just fight like hell. Just this past session alone, I found I passed legislation that created real solutions to the homelessness crisis that we face in Travis County by expanding Community First Village to 2 more campuses to house 1,500 more people. 10 years ago, I passed the original bill that allowed for the Community First Village to be established. I also increased affordable housing opportunities by increasing the number of land trust properties that we can have in Travis County. And then finally, I fought Greg Abbott and the Republican leadership by offering an amendment and getting an amendment on the appropriations bill that freed up $11 billion of federal aid to go directly to our public schools. Abbott was holding it hostage, but our schools really needed that money directly. I was able to get that amendment on, and a couple of days later, the governor released that money. And then lastly, I helped lead a delegation of 50 plus House Democrats to Washington, D.C. to fight for our freedom to vote. And that is a topical, that's a hot topic right now. We're trying to see if we can get that through in the Senate, voting rights bill, and I was happy to be a part of that. So I'll just say I'm a progressive who makes progress. I get things done. I want to take that to Washington, D.C. to help the people of District 35, and I would really appreciate your support. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Eddie, and good luck with your next meeting. We are going to give everybody a chance to speak, but I do know that some people have other commitments, as Eddie did. And Suzanne Woody, I believe you have to leave us too. So you want to give us a little short introduction to you? And you were in the same area that Eddie was. So let's hear about the Southeast side.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I am Susanna Ledesma Woody, and I'm ready to be your next County Commissioner, Precinct 4. I'm a married mother of 3. I have an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I'm a 10-year project management specialist at Advanced Micro Devices, a 10-year Del Valley ISD trustee, one of the founding members and current president of the Del Valley Community Coalition. I grew up in the Eastern Crescent, and I've seen firsthand the disparities and the inequalities in our community. Most of my focus has been on healthcare and distributive justice, but I'm a strong supporter of criminal justice reform and environmental justice. As the current president of the Valley Community Coalition, I've advocated for increased community access to healthy, affordable foods, comprehensive and affordable healthcare services, viable public transportation, and distributive justice regarding COVID-19 relief and COVID-19 vaccine distribution that actually benefited the residents of Precinct 4. As a trustee, I'm proud of the work that I and the other board members have done to create a district that not only focuses on providing excellent education for students, but also takes pride in the diversity and celebrates the talent, the identities, and the dreams of each of our students. I've helped push get employee raises, increase healthcare benefits, and provide childcare services throughout the district, all while decreasing the tax rate over the past 10 years. Many parts of Precinct 4 are recognized as a food desert or a healthcare desert, and all of these issues that our community has faced should have been handled decades ago, and support for them should be consistent and not just during election season. There are many reasons why I'm running, but I think the one that pushed me over the edge was seeing my community suffer through the pandemic. I have a track record of fighting for fairness in every workplace, every boardroom, and every organization that I've been a part of. As commissioner, I will be unwavering in fighting for the voices that have been marginalized. I have the experience to do this job. With your help, we can bring common sense and true progressive values to the Travis County Court. Thank you for your time, and I hope to have your support.
Thank you, Susanna. And I want to point out that our club has extended itself into her area. We started out just as District 1, really. We started out in Pflugerville, so there was kind of a mixture of 1 and 2 there. But we have expanded into the southeast side, and we want to support those people that need assistance from our commissioners, our councilmen, and our council persons, I should say, and in our state legislature. So with that, let's see. I'm going to start with Judge Brandy Mueller. You're the first on my list here, and then we'll just go around the room, okay?
Okay.
Just till you keep it to about 1 and 1.5 minutes.
All right, Sandra, you got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope everybody's staying warm. It's cold today. Sorry we aren't meeting in person. I am running for the 403rd Criminal District Court, and you've probably heard me speak a couple of times before your club. I have been proud to have that opportunity. I've been a judge for 11 years. I preside over one of our criminal and misdemeanor courts. I'm running for a felony version of the court that I've been presiding. The Honorable Judge Brenda Kennedy has been presiding over that court for a number of years. She, my colleague, began her judicial career at the county court at law level, like myself, having served over a decade before she considered running for the highest level felony trial court that we have in our state. And that's what I'm doing, following along in her path. I'm proud to have worked in criminal justice here in Austin, my hometown, for 24 years. I'm also proud to have served in every role in our criminal courts as prosecutor, as defense attorney, and as judge. As a judge, I presided over 100 trials. As a prosecutor and as a defense lawyer, I've presided over very difficult and complicated felony and federal level cases. As a lawyer and tried those cases, there's no question that I have a vast amount of experience and the more experience in this race. But that's not why I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your support because of the work that I've done and that I want to continue to do for the youngest defendants in our criminal justice system. Those who are 17, 18, and 19 are treated as adults in our state. You may have heard me say before that we're one of only 3 states left across the entire country that has this low age of criminal responsibility. I noticed that when I first became a judge, and soon soon after created my own diversion program called Project Engage, which I'm very proud to tell you has had really good results. We have got measurable metrics of success. We have had over 100 graduates. We have gotten acknowledgement and favorable attention from the United States State Department, who brought a delegation of Supreme Court justices to watch our program and me preside over Project Engage on 2 separate days. We've received awards from the city, from the county, and from the bar. I've been active in our community on boards that have helped me obtain connections and strengthen relationships in areas like American Youth Works, educational opportunities for a lot of these teens. I want to just also quickly add that it may not be obvious, but let me tell you, having been on the front lines at our criminal courts, many of the defendants who are in this young age category are dealing with unbelievable challenges. They often are have a family member who's been incarcerated, have a family member who's passed away. They are often responsible for taking care of their much younger siblings. A lot of times they are indigent. And some of them are aging out of the CPS system. They rarely have a parent appear in court. I'm a mom of 3 teenage boys. I know how important it is to have a supportive home life, and I see that that is not what's happening for a lot of the defendants in our program. A lot of the defendants in our criminal courts, even here in Travis County, there are over 1,000 teenage and young adult defendants caught up in our criminal justice system here in our county as we speak. I want to continue the work that I've done in Project Engage. As I hope you can tell, I feel strongly about this issue. It's been a highlight of my campaign. One of the reasons that I'm running for the 403rd is because the judge of the court of the 403rd presides over the youth docket. There is an incredible amount of room for us to continue to grow this program. We have support from all aspects of the community. I'm proud to have also received the endorsement or recommendations of AFSCME, of the Central Labor Council, of North by Northwest, of South Austin Democrats, of Capital Area Progressive Democrats. My opponent is a wonderful person and has been a friend to me and a good Democrat. And I know that this might be difficult for some of you who are close to him, but this is an important court at a high level, and the experience difference and the specialty experience that I have in youth makes me the better candidate, and I hope for your endorsement. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, NETCo.
Thank you. I would like to comment on your speech today. You talked about what you have achieved, what you hope to achieve, and you did compliment your opponent, which I find exemplary. What I don't like, and I've seen in occasions on these election competitions right now, is some tearing down of fellow Democrats. I do not approve of that. What you need to do if you're running is to tell us why you are the best candidate, not why your opponent is the worst. So I just want to say that because I've seen some pretty ugly things happening and I don't like it. And this club does not approve that kind of thing. So just bear that in mind. Our next lady, oh yes, Lori. Lori, you can speak now, okay?
Hello, NETCo Democrats. Laurie Iserloh here. I'm running for the new 455th Civil District Court. It's great seeing you all today. As you all recall, I'm a 28-year trial attorney. I'm double board certified in labor and employment law and personal injury trial law. I'm a member of the American Board of Trial Advocates, which is an invitation-only group of experienced trial attorneys who fight for the preservation of our jury trial. You all, you know me from so many different things, but let me just tell you a formative experience. If I'm elected, I'll be the first out LGBTQ elected to the court. Years ago to the civil court, so I have ratings on the criminal court, my wife and I went to adopt our children in civil district court. And I'll tell you, this was before marriage equality, and it was a sobering experience, like anything could have happened. Sitting there with a newborn in arms, not being really recognized by the law. And it's given me a lot of compassion for people who come to court, but don't necessarily stand on a level playing field. NETCo Dems, you need to care about these civil courts. Why? Because critical issues come to us, right? Things like the tank farm, things like the Kinder Morgan pipeline, countless challenges to the SOS ordinance. No matter what side of code next you stand on, it came to the civil courts for a decision. So these are critical issues to all of us in Austin that come right to the civil courts. So NETCo, what do you get with me? Well, not only a super experienced trial attorney, but I am a dedicated member of our community, longtime member of this club, but also I'm a former precinct chair, 275. Many of you all came to my house to pick up distribution and materials, including materials from my former opponent, which I personally passed out door to door. Why? Because I'm committed to the Democratic Party. That's our main goal here today. I've also been on the board of El Buen Samaritano, helping with ESL clinic services and food bank, which was a lifeline during COVID. I was on that board for over a decade. I currently serve on the board of the Austin Center for Child Guidance, providing trauma-informed care. During the height of the AIDS crisis, I was on the board of AIDS Services of Austin. So you all NETCo Dems, you've taught us how to do this. We need to follow your lead and learn. We are Democrats first. And if you elect me, you're going to get a experienced trial lawyer, dedicated community leader, and a longtime, lifelong Democrat who's put blood, sweat, and tears into this party. Laurie Isolo, Laurie the lawyer, running for the new Civil District Court, the 455th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laurie. And I want to point out, I don't know if you guys have watched The Good Wife or The Good Fight, but it's about attorneys and judges in Illinois. And having lived in Illinois, and probably 50% of my relatives still live there, I am well aware of how Illinois runs its politics. And it is not anything like either Iowa or Texas, but you get an idea watching those shows. And you will also learn that our judges are incredibly important, all up and down from the Supreme Court right down to the justice of peace in your current county district.
Sandra, I should have mentioned, because Dr. Albert mentioned this, I was just endorsed by the liberal Austin Democrats and recommended by the Black Austin Democrats. I've got Central Labor, essentially all of the clubs, and a number of our elected officials, including Cheryl Cole, Jeff Trevelyan, Chaz Moore, Nelson Linder, Joseph Parker, and many others.
Oh, I'm certain of that, Lori. I have no doubts at all that you came highly recommended. We'll see how it comes out here in just a few hours. I believe our next one is Danella Little.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me say hello today. My name is and you can hear me, right? Just making sure.
Yes.
Check. Okay. My name is Daniela de Zeta Lytle, and I'm running for the 261st Civil District Court. This is a civil court, just like Lori's seat that she's running for. The court hears family law matters and civil matters, and the same cases I've handled for over 12 years right here in our community. I'm an Army veteran, an immigrant, and the daughter of immigrants. I'm also a business owner and an experienced award-winning trial lawyer with more than 12 years experience and more than 1,500 cases under my belt right here in our community. I speak, read, and write in Spanish and Portuguese. And if I'm elected, I'm going to proudly serve as the first immigrant and the first female veteran to ever serve in Travis County. I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up by my mother's side while she sold empanadas and cleaned houses. And I'm the first in my family to graduate from high school and college. My belief in the promise of this country and what it has given me and my family instilled a great sense of responsibility and hard work. And right out of high school, I joined the military as an infantry combat medic, where I served for 8 years. And I was able to go to college because of the GI Bill and the scholarships that I earned. Those perspectives inform my judgment and allows me to see things with very unique lens that we don't have in our civil courts right now, and frankly, we've never had. And I want to change that. And there's two main reasons why I'm the best candidate for the job. Number one is my advocacy has been proven beyond the words of a 1-minute speech. I've done a lot for the community. I'll highlight one item. I created legal documents to protect Texas children from being placed in CPS or foster care. That program was so successful that the Mexican consul, Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, actually appointed me. Out of hundreds of attorneys he could have reached out to, he reached out to me and appointed me for 3 years to help Mexican and Mexican-American folks going through some of the most difficult issues right here in our county. And number two is we live in a metropolitan city. I have a very diverse background, and my practice has been handling international issues for more than 12 years. And I've helped people in every segment of our population, not one, not just Latinos, Black, brown, Asian, you name it. That's the practice I have and that I've had for more than 12 years. I'm a successful business owner. I like to call myself the captain of a cruise ship that never ends for more than 12 years. I've led a team of lawyers and paralegals. I manage large dockets with care and efficiency. And I think we need top lawyers with the shared lived experiences of our community that also offer diversity. And I'd like to point out that the population is now almost 35% Latino and growing, and there's only one, and I mean just one, Spanish-speaking lawyer in the central docket. There's only one in the central docket right now. So I humbly ask for your vote and your endorsement. I do have the endorsement of every progressive organization, Capital Area Progressives, University Dems, North by Northwest, Liberal Austin Dems, South Austin Dems, the recommendation of AFSCME, the endorsement of Central Labor Council, and many elected officials, which you can find on my website. And again, thank you so much for the time, for the support, and for helping our Democratic candidates be heard and seen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danella. I keep pronouncing your last name as Little, and it's Lytle. And I should see that. It's quite apparent, but I apologize. I think we have someone new to our club that I'm going to introduce next. Eugene Claiborne, would you tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name is Eugene Claiborne. Thank you for this opportunity, NETCo Democrats. I'm asking for your endorsement and vote to support me for District Judge of the 455th Civil District Court. After 28 years of civil litigation in state and federal courts in Texas, representing public and private clients, I'm ready for the job of District Judge. I'm ready for the hard work of doing justice the right way. You can go to eugeneforjudge.com for more information. I will work to improve access to courts because justice delayed is justice denied. District Court is where citizens expect a fair and impartial resolution of their civil and family disputes. I will work with court administrators to help reduce case backlogs caused by COVID, to improve safety protocols for all hearings and trials, and to expand the legal services fee coverage for people who cannot afford an attorney. Please bear in mind that legislators and public administrators make law and policy. They also implement law and policy, whereas the judges interpret the law and apply the law to the facts. Those facts can be determined by a jury or they can be determined by a judge in a non-jury setting. Towards that end, all civil and family matters pending before the 455th, if I'm elected judge, I will work to improve access to equal justice because everyone wants their day in court. They want to be heard and they want to be treated with dignity and respect. And as your diversity resolutions say, they want equal standing under the law. They want to be given that. So I will perform my judicial duties without bias or prejudice based on race, sex, religion, national origin, disability, age, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. I will make sure I'm prepared and available every day to give each person the care and attention they deserve in their case. So I'm asking for your endorsement. If I could close with this. As an African-American male, I've experienced bias and prejudice based on race, based on my age, based on my socioeconomic status, having grown up in deep East Texas in the piney woods. But in spite of that, I've never reciprocated that. And that's the basis in my heart and my soul about how I know I deliver when it comes to approaching issues without bias and prejudice. Now, the other part is I have credentials. You know, I'm board certified administrative law. I've worked in courts all over Texas, civil courts as a litigator, and I pride myself in that. And, you know, going to court, doing the things that attorneys do, I had a chance to observe what judges do and how they do it. I even clerked for a judge in a federal court system, and I know what it looks like behind the scenes. So I'm bringing all that experience to bear in. I just need your endorsement to support me for this position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Eugene. I want to clarify something. I think people misunderstood me. I wanted to compliment Judge Brandy because she did not tear down her opponent. She complimented him, and apparently that was misunderstood. NETCo Dems promotes positive campaigning. We don't like the negatives. So I want you to be sure that you're aware of that. And Judge Brandy did exactly what she should have done. So make sure we understand that. Next, I think you guys keep jumping around here. Judge Chantel, I think you're next.
All right, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I have a chaotic household behind me, so I'll try to just focus. Good morning, NETCo Dems. I have been a member of this club for many, many years, back when it was 12 people, and now I understand that it's grown to over 300. So many of you I haven't met before. But just so you know who I am currently your judge of the 331st District Court. That is a felony criminal court, and I am looking for re-election. In my first year in office, starting January 1st of 2019, I took the lowest performing felony court here in Travis County. And by the end of my first year, it was the highest performing felony court here in Travis County. Why is that important? Well, it means that I work hard, number one, for you. That was one of the promises I made, is that I would be diligent. But number two, it means that we stay on top of the cases. Nobody falls through the cracks. People have been sitting in jail for sometimes 2 years or more without their day in court. And that is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
So when I took office, one of the things that I did was we immediately started trying cases. We immediately started pushing both sides, the state and the defense, to get ready on their cases. The discovery was completed. And that way people could go forward with their lives. Victims can't move forward because they can't get over the trauma that they faced throughout whatever the incident was until a case is done. Then they can finally start healing. Defendants can't move on while they have this threat of going to prison or whatever's going to happen in their case. So they can't move on until the case is completed. So it's very important when I talk about the efficiency of my court, it's for the benefit of all parties. And I'm not just moving cases, I'm moving cases for a just result, for the parties to be informed and ready to move on with their case. A case can be resulted by a dismissal, by a plea, or by a trial. Any of those things is acceptable, but each one may be more appropriate for the case depending on the specific facts of a case. Secondly, I also helped draft a general order that provided for automatic personal bonds for certain nonviolent state jail and third-degree felonies. Now, these are people that would have gotten personal bonds anyway, but it expedites the process so that there's less disruption to their jobs, to their housing, to their family relationships. Okay, so this is very important as well, and I think it needs to be expanded to all nonviolent felonies. Now, these are people that they're not on probation, they're not already out on bond, and these are not violent felonies. These are people that would be granted personal bond, but again, it just expedites the process. And in fact, the entire pretrial bonding process needs to be reformulated and expedited for everyone, because right now, these are people that have been accused of a crime, but they haven't been convicted of anything. They're pretrial detainees. And we don't want them to come out of the situation worse than when they went in, especially if they're not guilty, especially at the end, someone may be found not guilty, but they've already lost their housing, they've already lost their jobs, they've already lost everything. So we need to try to make sure that we preserve that until they're either convicted or acquitted, whatever the case may be. Lastly, most of you know, I've been an attorney for almost 33 years, but over 25 of those years, I was a criminal defense attorney. And I represented mostly indigent defendants and those with mental health issues. And I represented, murder cases, aggravated assault of child cases. I represented some very serious and heinous crimes. But my job as a defense attorney was to help people. It was to try to get them the help that they needed. Sometimes that was a criminal conviction and TDC time. Sometimes it was probation or deferred adjudication. It's very dependent upon the individual facts and circumstances of each case before you. But I brought that perspective of helping people to my bench. And that is what I have continued to try to do during the 3 years that I've been in office. So I'm sorry, I have hectic behind me. That's the reason that I have the most probationers out of any felony court here in Travis County, is because with my experience, I know the people that can be rehabilitated. I recognize them, and I know what services and programs and opportunities they need in order to be rehabilitated. Some people can't. They pose too great a threat to the community, to the safety of the community. So those people They have to be punished. But we reserve that for the people who can't be rehabilitated. That's what we do. So when I tell you that I took this job because I wanted to help people and that's what I've done my entire life, that comes from the heart. My job as a judge is to keep the community safe, but also to try to help as many people as I can, both victims and defendants and their families. And that is what I've tried to do during my first term in office. It's what I'd like to continue doing in my second term in office. I'd also like to take over the drug court so I can see if I can turn that around and make it a successful program. I would love to have your endorsement. This group has been so good to me in all of the prior elections. I hope that you'll continue to support me for my second term in office. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantel. That was quite impressive. I am going to move now to Beth. Beth, you're on your iPhone. I guess you're traveling. Go
I
ahead.
am. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandra. I am parked. I'm totally parked. I have the car on because it's so cold. Thank you for letting me come here on Zoom. It's hard to campaign in 24 counties, and so Zoom is one of the things that makes it great. But I'm Beth Payan, and I'm running to flip the last Republican-held seat on the Third Court of Appeals. The Third Court hears criminal and civil cases and also reviews many of the decisions of the governor, lieutenant governor, and state agencies. I've been a licensed attorney for nearly 30 years with criminal and civil experience. And I have a lifetime of work and commitment to the Democratic Party. The values with which my parents raised me have driven me to be an activist in the community, very active in the Democratic Party, and to seek out this seat. And that's why I spent the great majority of last year working hard to flip this seat. And that also, that's my commitment to the Democratic Party. I've been a former precinct chair, former VDR, president of the Capital Area Democratic Women, on the board of the North by Northwest Dems, and a member of this club for a long time. And the reason I've done that for many, many years is because I want to turn Texas and Travis County blue, and I want to flip this seat. And I think my commitment to that and my community activism shows you the type of person I am and where my heart is. And I think it's important because we need justices on the Third Court who have compassion, knowledge of the laws, and a breadth of experience trying the types of cases that come before them. And my entire career has been focused on improving the criminal justice system and criminal justice reform and restorative justice. I sat on the committee that created the Downtown Austin Community Court, working hand in hand with our community members that are affected by homelessness. I volunteered for many years to serve in our drug court, learning about addiction and how it affects individuals and their families and our community. And I'm currently running all of our diversion programs where I'm helping develop and execute policies to keep low-level, nonviolent, and youthful offenders out of custody, keep that harmful conviction off their record, and then get those cases expunged when that case is done. And I know about the harm of a conviction, not just from my work, but I've been married to a criminal defense attorney for the last 20 years. I also have civil experience from my time at Legal Aid and my work in the CPS division. I've been endorsed by many clubs, the Little Austin Democrats, South Austin Democrats, Capital Area Progressive Democrats, and many local leaders in our community and in other communities. And I hope you'll go to my website. I've got my signs coming in Monday. I'm super excited. If you want one, please get in touch. And I thank you for everything you do, Sandra, and the NETCo Dems in trying to do the right thing and make this a better place.
Thank you so much, Beth. Leslie, how about hearing from you now?
Thank you, Sandra. Good afternoon, everyone. I keep making side glances over here because this strong wind is blowing the dog door open and the cedar is just flowing through, killing me here. But I am Leslie Boykin. I'm running for County Court at Law number 6. And I believe I'm the best candidate in this race because I possess the temperament, the life experience, and the skills to continue the success of this court. I've dedicated my 17-year career as a criminal defense attorney to defending the underprivileged by voluntarily taking court appointments and focusing on clients with mental health issues. I've represented over 2,500 individuals and handled about 5,000 cases at this point in my career. I've won awards for my representation of clients as well as my mentorship to young people. I've been involved in the community by volunteering with young people, both at Aikens High School, Drippings High School, and in my church, as well as the YMCA Youth and Government program. I taught ESL and high school Spanish before I went to law school, and I will carry those skills forward so that I can be a bilingual judge. I would love to continue and expand Project Engage, Court 6's docket for 17 to 21-year-olds charged with crimes. I do have other ideas that I know will bring greater justice to our entire courthouse, and those include expanding community service access to all people charged with crimes and bringing more science into the courtroom of our entire criminal courthouse. And that has to do with mental health conditions that a certain population of people with traumatic brain injury have. It gets pretty complicated, so please email me and I'd love to chat all day about it, but I don't have time to discuss it. I won't take up too much time here today. So I believe that judges who are not patient rush to judgment, and judges who are not compassionate rush to punish, and I am neither of those types of people. I'm in East Texas raised, deep East Texas, like Mr. Claiborne said. Moved here as soon as I could in 1993. I'm a justice fighter, and I have worked tirelessly for almost 2 decades to prevent people from falling through the cracks and towards stopping the school to prison pipeline that's been fed by prosecutors. I'm a former restaurant worker, a former blues band manager, a former high school teacher, and I started my practice here less than a year after graduating law school with nothing in my pockets except a desire to help people. I ask that you read my questionnaire answers, check out my website and social media, and then join University of Texas Democrats, North by Northwest Democrats, Circle C area Democrats, and a variety of community leaders who have endorsed my campaign. I thank you so much for the time to talk to you today. I love coming to your meetings and being a member of your club, and I hope to gain your endorsement and your primary vote. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Leslie, I believe you were once the precinct chair, isn't that correct?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Precinct Chair 309 for 7 years and Vice President of Circle C Dems. Thanks,
Okay.
Sandra.
I think being a precinct chair is kind of important. Anyway, moving along, Paula Nippa. Sorry.
Oh, holy smokes, it's Knippa. And congratulations to you on being an awesome 80. Holy smokes. You're just only giving me something to aspire to, because I need to aspire to something. Anyway, I'm running for place 4 on the 3rd Court of Appeals. I also, like my competitors, Beth Payan and Rosa Theophanis, who I am not sure is going to be on the call today, but they're awesome. They're awesome Democrats. So here's what distinguishes me. I have spent my entire, they all really are actually, I would love to call them friends. I've spent my entire legal career providing legal services to the poor and also providing legal services to people who would not otherwise have access to the courts. It's why I became a lawyer. What can I do to represent the underdog? Done. Okay. As a result of that work, I've gained a proficiency somewhat with a ton of different civil law specialties, bankruptcy law, family law, wills and estates, probate, Social Security, Social Security, disability law. And I apologize for seeming like I'm rushed, but I'm trying to get my daughter into a clinic right now. Insurance rules and regulations, contract law, election law, government law. I have an extensive amount of civil appellate experience. I haven't given you the extensive list, and I apologize for that, but I don't want to bore you. Why does that matter? Well, this is primarily a civil appellate court. 81% of the appeals last year were civil. We already have 2 criminal appellate law specialists, both prosecutors, both of whom have prosecutorial experience. Super great. But I feel like we desperately need somebody with civil law experience. I feel like, how do I say this? People have done great service for the Democratic Party by serving as precinct chairs and just doing the legwork that's so significant and important for us as Democrats. And I'm a lifelong Democrat and a lifelong Texan. Because I had a law degree and a license, I've chosen to spend my because I could, because I didn't work for the state. When you worked for the state, you can't do this. I volunteered for people who would not otherwise have representation. I've worked with Volunteer Legal Services of Central Texas for 15 years, the entire time I've been licensed to practice law. And this is, look, we're all doing the best we can. We're all doing great work. It's just a matter, and by all, I mean you guys, but of course, also my competitors. They're doing great work too. And I completely respect them, and I'm going to give a shout out to them. I just want to emphasize that sometimes we do work for Democratic Party values that may not be as a precinct chair or something, if that's okay. I'm just saying that sometimes that's okay. We're trying to do the Lord's work, as they say, in a non-denominational religious way. We're trying to do the best we can. And I'm so privileged to be a part of this community. I'm so privileged to be considered even a competitor of the other folks who are running. I think they're great, and I genuinely appreciate the work you guys are doing, and I really, really wish I could have gotten cheese enchiladas con carne this morning, because it would have helped me get through the rest of the day.
Well, thank you, Paula. I do want to point out too that I have a list of 300 people. And some of those are members of our club. Some of them never attend a meeting, but they do things like the phone bank and the block walking and the things that we often are not heralded for doing. Our precinct chairs are our guidance, and they are our organizers within our precincts. But there are lots of people out there that are neither, and they don't even attend my meetings, but they do answer my emails. So yeah, it's a great group of people.
Yes.
And we do take advantage of them. I'll tell you that. I've got one man who's actually 84 who will write postcards to the end of the day, and that's his favorite thing to do. We never see him, we never hear from him, but he's there and he's working for us. So I just want to kind of point that out to us. Let's see. Allison, do you have a special person you want to talk about? Allison Heinrich? Are you there, Allison?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure what you might be referring to, Sandra.
Don't you represent Lloyd Doggett?
I do not work for the congressman, no. I work for Representative John Busey and have a few other clients.
Well, who are you working for?
Sure, my clients include Lulu Flores, who's on the call, Beth Payan, who you heard from today, Jess Wynn, who's on the call, and then a slew of folks in Williamson County and other surrounding counties.
Oh, okay.
I'm here, Sandra. Can you see me or hear me? I had to take my camera off.
Okay, Jessica, let's hear from you then. I'm sorry, Allison. I know I get emails from you. I do tend to get them mixed up. So
no worries at all. I appreciate it.
Okay, Jessica, you go ahead.
And thanks, Allison. Hi, everyone. I'm actually coming from my laundry room because I know that my daughter won't come in here to help. So that means I can have there she is. I am a single mom. I've mentioned that before, and some of our, sorry, honey. 1 minute, honey. Well, I'll make it very brief because of my particular situation, but I am a lifelong public servant. I'm an assistant district attorney specializing in child abuse and animal cruelty. And she found me. I've been in here for this entire meeting, folding clothes, and she came here once I started talking, of course. Well, I will say that. You breaking my barrier? Yes, love. Okay. I might have to put some of my information in the chat, but I will say that I have been a dedicated public servant. I believe in compassion and humanity and human connection. Those are the things I really want to bring to the bench. That's the way I'm able to do things like prosecute child abusers and also prosecute animal cruelty cases. One of the things I actually wanted to talk to you, because I've told you a lot in prior meetings about my life story being a daughter of refugees, but that my specialty is also animal cruelty, because I believe that there are voices and lives that need to be protected. And this is the reality of this is the other aspect of me that you guys don't get to see as a candidate sometimes. But I wanted to talk about. Love you. Can you wait for me, please? Thank you. Thank you. Bye. That we try our hardest sometimes. But like I said, I am also the lead trainer in the DA's office. I train other attorneys on things like jury selection and racial equity and implicit bias. I lead and moderate a discussion group just like this, but on racial equity to talk about things like implicit bias, like I mentioned, and mass incarceration and how we can overcome those things within the DA's office. I will say, I hope that NETCo joins all of the other clubs like South Austin Democrats, North by Northwest Democrats, University Democrats, AFSCME's recommendation, and the Labor Council in endorsing me for change in the 331st District Court. I believe that we can do it together, and I would love your help and support. So thank you very much. And again, sorry for some of the distractions, but this is the real me. So I appreciate you guys having me here today. And thank you, Sandra. Happy belated birthday to you.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. And yeah, that's real life. That's really why we're here. Okay. Matt Worthington, I don't know if I know you, sir. Do I? Talk to me.
Hey, I think we met once before with the Woodies. But yeah, my name is Matt Worthington. I am one of the candidates that's running in House District 51. For those that aren't familiar with District 51, it's one of our legislature's safest blue seats. It's the safest blue seat in Travis County. And yet, we have a lot of challenges in our community. We experience widespread food insecurity, a dearth of transportation infrastructure, poverty, and growing housing instability. We have some of the lowest life expectancy rates, some of the highest rates of reported poor mental health and poor physical health. And we have also a district that is uniquely Latino. It's majority Black and Brown residents. And I mention a lot of that because those realities aren't just part of my own story as a Latino, but there's nothing safe about them. And in one of our legislature's safest seats, I'm running to make sure that we don't have somebody that will settle for safe politics with the realities that we have in our district. As somebody who was raised by a single mother in poverty, my life's trajectory was transformed by people who stepped up when I needed them most. I experienced food insecurity, had to use food banks every week to put food on the table, despite my brothers and I working at Whataburger to make ends meet. We experienced housing instability, a lack of reliable transportation, and as a child, the overwhelming burden of being poor. And it's why I dedicated my life to public service. It's why I'm running in House District 51. I'm a former special education teacher. I taught 6th to 8th graders with mild to moderate disabilities in DC public schools. And I'm a data scientist who specializes in public policy data, have helped nonprofits and progressive organizations understand complex policy issues through data, and actively serve our community as the vice president of the Del Valle Community Coalition and as vice chair for the city's Early Childhood Council. I've worked to expand the number of pre-K seats in Central Texas. I've advocated for the expansion of funding and access to more high-quality childcare in our community. That work was actually featured on last week's Sunday paper as the front cover of the Austin Statesman. And in the wake of the storm, I helped organize with DVCC to provide over $100,000 worth of food, water, sanitary supplies, and hot meals to my neighbors in the Eastern Crescent. And when vaccines rolled out, I was using my data skills to publish op-eds and raise media attention around the importance of vaccine equity for my neighbors. And I've used my data skills to also help orgs like Equality Texas tell the story of how our legislature is attacking LGBTQ Texans at an unprecedented rate. And even now, you know, I'm staying active, even in the middle of the campaign, trying to respond to our neighbors' needs around testing right now with Omicron by trying to organize a donation of 1,000 test kits with Susanna Woody and the rest of DVCC. And simply put, I feel like I best represent our community because of my lived experience, my dedication to public policy and public service, and my track record of showing up for my neighbors when it was needed most. I'm running, my platform is heavily focused on improving infrastructure, both hard infrastructure and social infrastructure, supporting public schools statewide, prioritizing public health, and protecting Texan civil rights. And yeah, that's who I am, and would be honored to have the support of anybody who's willing to join our work.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. And I do recall now meeting you with Suzanne and Roy. Now we want to go to Lulu. Let's hear from you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, NETCo. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you again. I enjoyed visiting with you at the last meeting in person. Unfortunately, we can't do that again today. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again. I'll be briefer, but I will tell you, for those of you who weren't there, I'm Lulu Flores. I'm an attorney and a community activist with over 25 years of legislative experience at two major state agencies at top levels and at the state capitol. While I was at the state capitol, I worked for State Representative Irma Rangel, the first Mexican-American woman ever elected to the legislature. And I helped draft and pass the first domestic violence legislation in Texas, which resulted in the first state funding for domestic violence shelters and temporary protective orders for victims. At the state bar, I fended off attacks on and attempts to deregulate the practice of law, and I got increased funding for the Texas judiciary. I am a true blue, yellow dog, progressive Democrat with over 30 years of experience working with the Democratic Party and for candidates. I've block walked, I've phone banked, I've registered voters, I have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for both the party and candidates at the state, local, and national level, both as a volunteer and as president of the National Women's Political Caucus. I have, for almost 30 years, have spearheaded through the Hispanic Bar food programs for our neighbors in Southeast Austin. I have spearheaded the Thanksgiving Basket Project every year, where we feed 65 to almost 100 families every year, and that's been consistent for the last 27 or 28 years that I've been doing that, as well as organizing holiday parties for 30 children for the same amount of time, almost 30 years, for kids, and getting attorneys to sponsor children to get them presents for Christmas, because they probably won't have them if we hadn't stepped up. We work with communities in school and work with the entire family and help provide grocery cards to those families so that they can get through the holiday, at least have a good holiday meal. I have been consistent in the community, and I have a track record of getting things done. I've spent over 30 years doing that. I have lived in the district for 40 years, and I'm a 46-year resident of Travis County.
Lulu, do you want to tell us what position you're running for?
I'm sorry, I'm running for State Representative District 51, and it's a crowded field, and I do have a lot of really great people running, but I am running on my track record, my legislative experience, my true and given track record, and my work in the community. As I said, District 51, just getting to that, does have a lot of challenges, and I intend to address those challenges of affordability, fair wages, food security, women's autonomy. I am running against Greg Abbott and SB 8. I am not going to take this stuff sitting down. We need to push back. I am a fighter. I am committed. I will fight when I have to fight, but I will also collaborate when it's for the benefit of the constituents in my district. I will work with anybody across the aisle who wants to get something done, but I will stand up for our democratic values, for our democratic issues, for our women's autonomy, for our voters' rights. I will stand up for those. And we have a lot of work to do and a lot of work to undo. And I'm ready, and I have the track record and the experience to do that. I will be the strongest voice for District 51. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be in this race. So I am all in, and I am with the Democrats, and I appreciate and ask for your support. I have the support of Ask Me Local 1624. I have the support of Education Austin. The Austin Central Labor Council has recommended me to the state AFL-CIO. I also have received the endorsements of Capital Area Progressive Democrats, South Austin Democrats, and I've been recommended by the Black Austin Democrats to their membership for endorsement. And I also have the support of Representative Cheryl Cole, Celia Israel, Gina Hinojosa, Donna Howard. They're all supporting my campaign, as well as a lot of other elected leaders who I have worked with in the community and have supported their campaigns faithfully by walking the walk, by manning the phones, and getting money and opening my home for fundraisers for them. So with open heart, I ask for your endorsement. I appreciate your work, and I hope that you will join the other groups that have already endorsed me to help me become the next strong voice for District 51 at the state capitol. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lulu. And I have been asked if each one of you running for a position, whether it's a congressman or judge or whatever, to please put your information in our chat so that each one of our members can see who you are and connect you with your face, which is very important. You know, the number one thing on the ballot that'll get you elected is name recognition. They got to recognize your name. That's what gets you elected. That's proven time and time again. Let's see, Judge Gamble, good to see you. How would we'd like to hear from you now. Are you there? Maybe she stepped away for a moment. Okay, Tanisa Jeffers Bernard, are you there? Okay. Seem to have pictures, but no people. Who have I missed that's running that hasn't spoken? Okay, I guess we've heard from everybody then. If they pop up, we'll bring them in. But right now, I'd like to go back to our discussion for the State Board of Education. We were talking about dumbing down and some of the other concerns. Does anybody have any further questions to our state board candidates? They're both for District 5. You may not be in that district. I happen to be, so I'm interested in them. Do you have any questions? Okay, I guess we got our answers, or you can contact them personally if you want to. I believe they put out.
Absolutely. Could I share too? I believe that this, and I so appreciate the positive space, because I think increasing Democratic voter turnout is going to be across the board the most helpful thing up and down the ballot. And because of that, I believe all of Travis County is in this new redistricted District 5. So I do want to emphasize that if this is, I mean, this is NETCo, right? Northeast Travis County. I believe everybody should be within the new District 5. And I can share the new map as well. But the new redistricting goes all the way up through Bastrop County and everything else. So encourage y'all to get engaged, and totally happy to share more and learn more from y'all.
Okay, that sounds good. And I know you're going to get some questions later too. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today, and we've kind of hit on it, is what to do about getting out the vote. Now, as David D'Angelo talked earlier, we're going to have a phone bank that's going to address the vote by mail problem that we're having right now. And I know you all are interested in getting out the vote. Now, the judges I know are extremely restricted, but you know what you can do if you're running for Congress or the state board, perhaps, is you can call for, say, Lloyd Doggett, and you can say, Hi, my name is Sandra Ragona, and I'm running for SBOE 5. I want to talk to you today about Lloyd Doggett. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. We have to identify ourselves when we make a phone call. So why not identify yourself? That way you get a little traction at the expense of Congressman Doggett. But Doggett is in a new district himself. He's now in District 37, of which I am now a member. I got moved out of his district before, so we're back in, right, Jane? And we're tickled to death, but we want to make sure that he gets elected. So I'm going to be holding a phone bank for him. I'd love to have any of you join me, make 5 calls. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with you identifying yourself for who you are. So that being said, does anybody have any brilliant ideas? Karen, I saw you raise your hand. Do you have an idea about how we can get out the vote? You're on mute, sweetie.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can safely block walk. I've been doing in-person medical practice since the pandemic started. But it takes observing the key rules we know of masking, staying 6 feet away from that person at the door, using hand sanitizer or gloves. When we block walk, it's pretty rare that someone answers the door. The majority of the homes we end up lip dropping. I think it's a matter of getting organized. And I think one of the most important things we need to do in our areas is recruit these new precinct chairs. I'm going to throw in a brief announcement. The East Travis Dems, the sister club, is meeting Tuesday night. We will have Eddie Rodriguez, Greg Kazar, and Rebecca Villagran, all of the candidates for Congressional District 35. It will be a virtual meeting, and you guys have already voted here. I've already voted here as a NETCo member. But just as a Democrat, you might want to hear from all of them. But we're also recruiting, and this is just a plea to everyone here who has connections. My precinct, 105, is 6 precincts. I would love to not run for precinct chair next year and just use the East Travis County Democrats organization to support 6 other precinct chairs.
Karen, that's kind of what we're planning to do as well. I think you got cut off on your voice, but NETCo Dems is thinking about the same kind of thing, and we're hoping to recruit some people as precinct chairs for this area. It has grown exponentially, so there's a lot more need for additional precinct chairs in this area. But Tuesday's meeting, if you will post that, or if you will send me the link, I will send it out further so that we get everybody to know when that is. So you're frozen. I don't know. Can you hear me? Are you back, Karen?
I have no idea what happened. Yeah, but you're my ride or die. We can be Thelma and Louise going to Caldwell County. And I just think anyone who knows folks in 101, 105, 106, which is where we tend to work, which are now all new precincts, please reach out to them to join our precinct teams. The leaders will step forward over time.
Okay, you might not have heard me, but what I ask you to do is send me the link for your meeting on Tuesday, so I can send it out to everybody.
Perfect.
I would like to have a good attendance at that meeting. I'm also doing a Beto meeting on Tuesday night, which means I'm going to have to use 2 computers to be on 2 Zooms.
Yeah, this was scheduled before that announcement came out. Yeah.
I know, unfortunately, and that's your regular meeting time anyway, so. Okay, does anybody else have any comments, curses, or criticisms to air? Now's the time to do it.
Judge Moore, candidate Moore just checked in.
Oh, where are you? I don't. Oh, Craig, there you are. Better late than never, babe, okay?
Hey, I hope you all can hear me. I'm on my mobile phone, but I just want to jump in and say good afternoon to everyone. It's always great to Zoom in with with my fellow NETCo members. Craig Moore, I'm running for the 403rd District Court, www.craigforjudge.com. I'm a criminal attorney, PhD student, father of 3 boys, child of a single mother, and ready to serve the community. So I know you guys are kind of getting to the end of your meeting, but please, I would welcome your support and your endorsement, and please check out the website for my qualifications and experience, and just look forward to serving the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig, and it's good to hear from you. And you did miss some things we talked about. As a judge, I know that you are terribly restricted on what you can do during campaigns. However, I think you could possibly join us for a phone bank regarding vote by mail. As you know, we've gotten some serious setbacks in that area. So I want to set up David D'Angelo already talked about a phone bank the party is going to be having on Thursday, I believe he said. He's going to send me more information on that. I'm going to send it out to all of you. If you can just make 5 phone calls, that would be great. And it's a very nonpartisan type of thing. We just want to get people to vote. And we'll be doing some other phone banks for you guys in general, and just to, voting. And then I want to do a specific one for Lloyd Doggett. So it's just because Lloyd, is so important to our club and our county, period, our state. That's it. But anyway, beyond that, watch your emails. I'll be letting you know what we're going to be doing. We're going to try to be COVID safe. As Karen pointed out, block walking can be safe. And apparently most of the time we just drop literature. So if you want us to do that, contact us and we'll make arrangements to get the literature and get walking. All right. If there's nothing else, I guess I'll close this meeting. Anybody?
I'm just going to pop in and say hi. I've been listening the whole time, but I've been cleaning my kitchen. So I wasn't planning to make a physical appearance, but I just want to say hi to everybody. I'm glad this club is going strong, and it's awesome to listen to all the candidates this time around.
Oh, good to hear from you. I haven't seen you in a while, and I hope you come out more often, okay?
Well, I was at the last in-person meeting. What do you mean you haven't seen me?
Because I haven't, except for the last personal meeting, I haven't seen anybody except on Zoom.
Okay.
And by the way, hopefully in February, we will be back at Tres Amigos.
Awesome.
I am so glad we have Zoom so we can talk, but I hate it. So I'll see you all in February, okay? Talk to you later.